Hi, everybody, and welcome back. Today's going to be a real treat. I have a guest with us today, Ginny Cutler, and she is, I'm going to say life coach, and she's going to correct me in a second here because it's a little complex, and I'd rather her explain it, but it's not about being labeled or boxed into anything so limited because she touches and helps all people. She's remarkable, and I'm really been looking forward to this for quite a while to be able to have you here and get to know a little more about you. So, without further ado, welcome, Ginny.
Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, it's great to have you. Let's get right into this. Like when I just said that about introducing you and trying to, identify you as, you're not comfortable with that.
Well, the only reason is a moment we think we know something or a moment we put a label on it, we just stop looking. We stop seeing what's actually all there. So that's why one of the reasons I stopped being a therapist. I was a therapist for 30 years, and it's all about what's your diagnosis, what's the criteria that you meet, what's the problem, and what are the kind of the standard things that we want to start with to help fix your problem, that kind of thing. The moment we think we know the answer and we've got the picture, we just stop looking. So
I remember somebody, a mentor to me in so many ways, used to say, you don't learn anything until you admit that you don't know anything.
Well, I had a wonderful experience. You heard of Byron Katie?
No.
Okay.
So make me a bad person?
No, look her up. You'll love it. So Byron Katie is somebody who had an enlightenment experience and lost her mind, ego, and since came back and teaches this thing around the 4 questions and the turnaround to question your thoughts. It's all about self-inquiry. And I went to her 9-day school. And what you do every morning is you go for a walk and you see everything and the mind's labeling it. Oh, that's a dog. That's a truck. That's a whatever. And she says you walk around and label everything or use the name, the first generation name. So if it's a tree, instead it's going to be a plant, or if it's a cloud, instead of it's going to be a sky. Instead of the sidewalk, it's going to be the ground. And it starts to pull the layers off of what we think we know and the names that the mind gives things and the pictures that creates and the past that pulls in. So you get free of that and the opening and the clarity and the connection to your surroundings, the presence, just it's like on steroids when you do that every day for a while. So that's when that really, really got me. I did that for 9 days and wow, I really got to see how we get in our own way when we're labeling things and we think we know and we already assume we have the background because of our own background experience. And that's all it is our own background experience.
Do you know that's so interesting you say that? When I was in my last treatment center, which was my 13th treatment center,
wow,
going back and forth recovery. Well, believe me, I was so broken at that point and so ashamed of that. I can see. Well, I can see it different now, but in that moment, there's nothing to be proud of in that moment. Especially when I was on the train going to this place and thinking, what am I doing? I'm going to another place to do the same dance I've done 12 times and I'm 0 for 12. So there's really no encouragement here. There's really no light at the end of the tunnel. And to cut the story and get to the point is that there was a one counselor that I used to talk with once in a while. He was a cool guy. And at night he goes to me, how you doing? And I go, I don't know how to answer that, man. I think I'm doing okay, but I thought that 12 times, like I don't trust. Yeah, but it's not funny because I'm scared. Like I really want to get, again, we go with what we know. So instinctively I go back to, you got to muster it up. You got to pay attention. You got to work hard. You got to, give it your best. And, who knows? I just know that this has not worked yet. But I don't know what else to do. and I have to do something, and I have to give the people around me a break. It was almost not even about me, but here I am, forced to make a move. And anyway, so he goes, if you you don't believe your own thoughts, I know I can't trust them because I don't know. I really do not know what my motive is when I'm telling you something. If I say, oh, that was really nice, I don't know if I really think what you just did was nice, or I'm trying to get in with you, or there's always some kind of angle because I'm coming from where I'm coming from. So I can't trust that. And he goes to me, well, those thoughts, just because you have never been able to actually realize the fruition and the depth of that, it doesn't mean it wasn't the truth. But when you have the amount of history you have, that thought can be genuine and authentic. If it's not followed by action, you are just full of shit.
Yeah.
And that was like a profound way of just really simple thing is if I think this is important, I have to do something to validate to myself that this is that important. I got to do something just to verify that to myself. It's about what I do, not what I think, right? And it's kind of like what you said in a sense there. You just, because you got to, when I'm thinking, I'm bringing in all this history. And that's not going to serve me, especially at a critical time like this. I got to really make the time count now. So my journey, I learned some of these lessons that so many other people talk about, and they've had, I never had these profound, I had to be beaten into submission each time and kind of have no choice for it to kind of appear. You know what I mean? Because as soon as I would think that I know how to do something, and I get defeated and completely emptied out and sucked dry, become a shell of a human being. And believe me, then I just need one meal and a push-up, and if I get a nap, I'm good. You know what I mean? That's how ridiculous.
Those answers were always right there. They were all in you. They were always right there. And it took 12, 13 times to layer by layer, take all that past history and the beliefs and the meaning you ascribe to your experience to let you be able to see. So you really are just uncovering clarity over all those years because you've clouded it and you've just put crap in the way. But
that's how you see it, right? What I think it was is a little different. What I think it was I have to be teachable by somebody that's been through what I'm going through in order to get there. Because I've proven to myself I can't do this on my own. I can do it, but I need some guidance and direction. I need to trust. I need to believe. And these were things that I would be too insecure to be able to do at that point in my life. And, in the name of macho or in the name of the masculinity, whatever, fail. Yeah. And somehow find something redeeming in failure.
But my point is, it was still always there.
Always was.
You kept trying. You had that tenacity and that persistence, and you kept showing up for yourself. Finally, you were ready. Finally, you had the right people in your environment that you could trust and that you could see that show you the way, that could model for you, that it could be done.
Again, I don't. This is not about me, but it's just despite me, I got this. I don't think it was I didn't have this wherewithal and this ambition. I was beaten. I had to be it had to be stripped.
You had that thing inside. You had that spark. You had that. When I was working in mental health for years, I came to the conclusion that there really are two kinds of people. There are people that want to live, and the people that don't want to live. So in being with people that were suicidal and that wanted to die, some just felt like that was the only way, and they made peace with that, and they found a way to make that happen. But other people want to live. They have that thing that wants them to be here and have a life and have an experience. So you still have that, that.
Maybe I'll agree with you on a subconscious level, but on a conscious level, I'm dead serious. And again, I don't want to belabor the point, but I really was the only reason I would even find treatment at that time is because, I was in despair. Had nothing to do with ambition to get better. Just I can't take it anymore. I can't take the pain anymore. It's not it wasn't this, I got it in me, I'm not giving in. That comes when I get my strength back. But in those desperate times, no.
Yeah, that's conscious thing, but it's an energetic thing. It's a spirit thing, definitely.
Or maybe you know what? I could be absolutely wrong, and you could be 100% right. It's just how I perceived it. So maybe that's where the difference is too. I don't know. I mean,
what that makes me think of, so I'm also have been for a lot of years sort of acting clinical director in an addiction facility, and I still am right now. And we have people coming in that have been there, 8, 9, 10 times, that are much older, that have generational addiction, and there's a tendency when people come in like that to go, oh, here he is again, it never works, that kind of thing. But the team really has to go, this could be the time. This could be where, it's just bad enough that he's willing to trust. And it's just creating that environment of unconditional, we're glad you're here. We're going to try again, whatever you need. It seems to be, there's more of a sort of a safety and energy that can be created by people that has nothing to do with what you're conscious of.
Right.
But just believing in somebody before they can believe in themselves. And that's actually what I think the biggest thing around coaching is too.
That is the deal. Because when you need that has to find its way in, and I couldn't muster it up. So when other people found something in me when I didn't have it, I'm so grateful right now. That's the thing I'm most grateful for.
Yeah.
People finding some kind of redeeming anything, because you surely don't feel worth it in that moment. And then when somebody would say to me, I know what the truth is of why I'm in this situation. I know these things I did behaviorally, and somebody would say, you can't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up. I'm going, are you fucking kidding me? Do you have any idea? And there was no way I had to get rid of that. And I realized that you're wasting more time by, but I had to kind of purge and get that out so that then I could, it's a journey. But this is what's so fascinating about you, Ginny. Let's keep talking about me. No, but your compassion and your enthusiasm, they're parallel. They're both phenomenal. And that's what attracted me to want to talk to you when you talk about recovery. You've lived. You're not one of these ones that read the book or watched the movie. You starred in the picture.
When I was growing up, I was miserable. I was depressed. I was something was wrong. I didn't belong where I was. Not a lot of connection. And so as I grew up, I started to use amphetamine. Back then it was cross tops, right? It was wipes, because I was depressed, and I just wanted to be engaged in life. And so over time, it messed me up so that I ended up having this break. So I got a little nutty, and I knew what it felt like to be suicidal. I knew what it was like to be on the fence to say, I could live, but it's not looking real good, or I could end it. And in that moment, that's one of the reasons why I know it's either in you or not. And so then it took me 3 years to come back from that. And there was a man that I'm eternally grateful for who taught me biofeedback. There was psychiatrists and there was mental health people. None of that worked. But teaching me how to do biofeedback, how to raise my temperature in my finger, how to relax my body, all that stuff. And then I decided, you know what, this is never happening to me again. This is BS. I'm never going to have that happen to me again. So I went to school on the mind. So in other words,
you felt like a victim up until this point, and you drew the line right there.
Yes.
I'm not going to be a victim again. I'm going to take control here, and
I'm living in this body and this brain, and I need to know about it. I need to know how something like this can happen. How does this happen to a brain where you get so distorted? I mean, it was like this black, awful thing was following me around. It was so oppressive and awful and terrible. And how does that happen? And I'm a person of light. I can't stand it. I can't wait till December 21st when we start to have the days get. So I went back to school on it, on myself, and that's what started me in that career. And then I got into that world, and then I realized, I don't fit in here either. I don't like the labels. Why don't I really get some of these models? Am I stupid? Am I not smart enough to get this? And so I realized, okay, I actually continue to work with addiction. I continue to work with co-occurring, mental health and addiction. I ended up getting in administration, was manager and clinical director. And then I had a tremendous loss in my family. My cousin died this pretty gnarly death. And on the plane back home, I thought, what am I doing? I need to do what I want to do. And that was, I'd always loved motorcycles as a kid, and my family never let me ride because I was the only girl in 5 boys. I got off the plane, and within 3 days, I had a beater Honda Rebel motorcycle. And every day after work, I was teaching myself to ride. I was going on the freeway. I was going in the hills. It was scary. And then one day my friend says, you're trying to get your skill level up? I know how to get your skill level up. Well, okay. And he took me to the racetrack. And so from the day I went on the racetrack for the first time, I think it was Sears Point, which is Infineon Raceway in Sonoma in California now. 1 year from the day I went on the racetrack, I was on the starting line of my first motorcycle road race. And then I did that for 10 years. And then I realized after doing that for 10 years, I realized, what am I doing this career for? This is crazy. I finally sort of was introduced to coaching because I was coaching new riders and racers so I could get more track time and get better. And so, and my CPA at the time said, hey, you should be a coach about 3 years in a row. And so then I got sort of left the career and trained to be a coach. And took off sold my house and quit my job and took off in an RV and just with my bikes on the back and my cats, and we went and drove around the country and rode on tracks that I always wanted to ride on, that I saw on TV or my friends had ridden, and so I did that for about 1.5 years. That was amazing. And then I landed here in Northern California, and that's when I really buckled down and started to really coach. I think that was about 2011.
So did you kind of get that out of your system with the motorcycle, the motocross? Was that something that, like, you needed to have that kind of challenge? Because that's kind of pretty masculine, right? I mean, would you say that? I find this diversity within you that's really cool. Like, like you were just saying about, do you want to live or die? But you're on that fence, and almost my thought was when you were saying that is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you feel like almost a contradiction. I got this positive energy, but I got this negative cloud following me, like try to figure it out. And then you have this compassion and this high energy. So now when I'm deciding to, ride the motorcycle and then do the racing, it's about, I want to find out what I'm really made of. Right.
I'm in this body, this gadget. I've always worked out. I'm pretty strong. The bike, it's really this sort of, when you learn anything new, it's like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. I can't do the left and the right thing. So, it started to be clear to me that it was just about technique and focus and really learning and being in control of your fine motor, your movements and being aware in the present moment. And that's what racing is all about. It's like triple digit ballet, Freddie Spencer School used to say. And the faster you go, the slower you have to move and the more present you have to be, or else you're going to die, right? So the consequences, and I really wanted to learn, I never had been good at focus, and I never had given 100% at anything, and I never had really tried to practice thing and really master technique. So this had a consequence. If I didn't really do that, there was a lot of there was consequence. I crashed a lot, but it wasn't, for me, it wasn't masculine and feminine. It was what am I made of? How can I master? You have to bring everything to it. And then as you're going triple digits, everything is slowing down. And there was times when I'd be crashing and it would be, happening really fast, but I'd be flying through the air and I'd do a tumble and I'd hit the ground. And I go, okay, there's one. And then it would seem like I wait forever until I tumble through and hit again. Oh, there's another, and I still seem to be okay. And then really slow, there's another. Oh, there went my foot. Something bad happened to my foot. So I love the idea of time just slowing down. You're stepping outside of time. So that's what it was about.
Do you think too much is made of this masculine feminine thing? Like, is this, is it that important to understand it?
I think it's absolutely, we live in a world of duality. It's absolutely energetically significant, but the meaning we assign to it and the way that we try to use, cognition and concepts around it kind of gets in the way. But we are all everything. We're capable of doing everything. We're part of everything. And it's like when you you're going to the rehab and you're actually seeing maybe a counselor or two and you really admire them and you really see something wonderful in them. You only see that because it's in you too. Then you see somebody else in there, you're like, man, what's with that guy? Because that's in you too, and you don't want that. I like Satyen Raja and his wife's work around that. I like different people. It's whatever resonates with you. Whoever's doing male-female energy work, however they're doing the conceptualization, go ahead and learn that, and learn other ones. I think all of us have, we don't know what we are, why we're here. We don't know anything, right? All of us, though, have a piece of the puzzle. All of us are part of it. And so I am going to go all in on somebody. I'm going to go all in on Byron Katie. I'm going to go all in, over here and over there. And I'm going to learn what her piece is, what she has to offer. And then I'm going to take the truth of that I can get at the level I'm at. And then I'm going to go to the next thing, and I'm going to piece it together for me. And while I'm doing that, it's bringing out my piece. It's making me more and more connected and more certain about what my piece is. So nothing is new. We all build off of everything else. And so the more that we can get, I think the more that it makes available what our unique contribution is.
Interesting. Yeah. You mentioned something a minute ago about like time and our perception of it. And I know when the adrenaline is really high and you're in one of those moments, whether it's sports or for that matter, sex, I mean, whatever it is, when you're just like, when you're in that zone, things slow down. That's kind of how I personally would identify that as being in that zone. If it's not, then I'm not there. Yeah. Whatever's going on, right? But then there's those times that I kind of think are so profound that I have no concept of time. Like nothing slowed down, nothing sped up. Like I got no idea, like almost like it's, I'm blind. Like music does it to me. Things like that. It just takes me away. It just, you're literally gone. And then it's profound.
That's because time is of the mind. It's a construct. It's a human thing, and when you're transported away in a sport or with music, you step out of that. You're not in the part of the brain that uses time to make sense of the world. So I remember one time for me, and a lot of it happened with racing. And one time I was headed down the track, headed for a certain death, and I just kind of, after I realized that, I didn't sit back. I'm certainly there on the body, but I just sat up and go, I'm out. There's nothing I can do. So that part of the brain that wants to use technique and is making sense of what's going on, it just kind of, somehow there was a separation and everything slowed down, and God is my witness. Well, there was a turn worker in the booth there. He saw it too. Somehow I got in between these two concrete walls and on a gravel thing when I was in, both wheels were locked up, and was able to stop the bike before heading on the track that was going this way, and it wasn't me doing it. It wasn't me, this identity with this mind and this ability. It was something else, and it was outside of time because it was really slow and it took forever, and I was just watching. I was sitting up I wasn't really sitting. You know what I mean? My being was just sitting up watching this happen, going, oh my gosh, I guess I am going to make it. And so it's just that, just stepping out of that construct of time, stepping out of that part of the brain that uses time to make sense of the world. Music, perfect for it.
You seem to have a real understanding about outside this third dimension that we live in. Do you buy into that? Do you entertain that level of depth?
So the more, and I've been learning about the physical body and the brain and the mind, which is the brain in action, playing with, the intelligence that is. The more I learn about that, the more I understand that that's not what we are. That's not who we are. That's what we have. We all own one, and it's amazing. But that isn't it, right? Because someone dies, an animal dies, and the body is the inert body. Is that the right word? Anyway, the body's suddenly very heavy. The life is gone. And so we're animating this thing. So just for me, it's just the more I learn about it, and I really, when I had that thing go on mentally, and then I developed seizures after that for a bunch of years, and one time just decided, that can't be right. That's regular medicine saying I have this seizure disorder and I have to be on medication. Well, then I decided, what, I'm going to go raw, and I'm going to get off my medication because I don't really believe I have a seizure disorder. And sure enough, I'm fine. I haven't had any of that. And it's really a kind of a combination about what happens with the body in relationship with the environment. So if I'm really stressed all the time, or if I'm eating junk food, or if I'm in an environment where I'm feeling really stuck, then weird things go wrong. But if I clean out and I get free from things, then the body can function like it wants to function. It doesn't have inputs and energy that are going to clog it up, and then it's going to react, because the body is at our cause. It's at whatever we do, the body then says, oh, here's what you're doing. I'll give you this discomfort, and I'll give you this illness, because I'm just giving you information about what you're doing. Very few of our illnesses are genetic, that are actually wrong with the body. It's like 1 or 2 or 5%, something real small. The rest of it's all environmental. The rest of it's all here and interacting with our world. So the more I learn about it, the more I can see that there's just more, and then I can play with thoughts. Okay, I'd really like this to happen. I'm going to get in the feeling of it, and boom, wow, it happened. I'm just testing it. The more I test it and try it out and play with it, the more the evidence comes back that, yeah, indeed, that's what's going on. It's far bigger than us in the body with the brain, and
yeah,
can imagine.
Right. But I have this kind of debate, whether it's just within me, but it usually comes out when I'm speaking to like real serious conscious people who are into these other realms and everything, and they go, I know. And I go, you don't know. You believe, but you don't know. And that's what faith is, and that's what belief is, but you don't know. You're like so convinced.
The belief is of the mind. Belief is of conditioning. So absolutely, yeah, we think things are true because we believe it. And a belief is because we've thought a thought and we've had an experience over and over again. But there is a knowing. But you have to be able to make the distinction between the two. And a knowing is a feeling thing. A knowing is a sensing. A knowing isn't of the mind. So
how about of the eyes?
Our eyes, our perceptual apparatus is crap. Really, it really is so distorted. It's a very small percentage of the information that all of us, of human beings, are bombarded with, every second of every day.
So do you believe that you can tap into other realms?
You do it all the time anyway. I forget how many megabytes or I don't even know, but there's this huge amount of information we're bombarded on energetically, and all of our senses, and cellular level, the light, there's so much that we're bombarded with, but the brain has to filter it through and choose what's relevant to keep me safe. what's relevant. I'm only going to pay attention to what's relevant. And it filters all of that through. And we think that's all we're getting, the information the brain filters and allows us to be conscious of. But it's not. It's all the time we're bombarded by our environment, where everything is of an energetic field. And that field is like, it's as if we were underwater. It's as if, I like to think of it as you're in a single room, and it's jam packed with fiber optics, just wire after wire with little lights on the end, and so much that it can't move. That's the level of information we get all the time. But the brain filters it through. So just knowing that, oh, my brain's filtering. My brain has a bias towards negativity right now. It has a bias towards confirmation. It wants to confirm what I already believe. So knowing your biases as well, knowing how the body works, knowing how the brain filters stuff through, then you realize, once you see that, you see somebody in a belief, right? And you know that they're not seeing everything else that you see and everybody else sees.
Absolutely right? The opposite of that. I have people telling me that they see more than I see. And I'm saying to myself, like, I might believe in this realm that we're living in, the human experience that we're all living, right? You might be more capable of absorbing more, because I'm not that interested in, up until this point, right? But you know what Shaktipat is?
Uh-huh.
Okay? I had that done to me. I don't know what that is. That's like, and here's the thing though, it's beyond my grasp. And I had two lovely girls up, and they did this to me, a healing session, right? We filmed it. It's on my thing. And yeah, I kind of sailed away, but I sail away into just a nap, and I'll take that, I guess, but I don't have this better understanding of what that process is. And if you talk to Kai, is the girl's name who does that, she completely, this is her wheelhouse, And I was just like, I really kind of, after that experience, I came away feeling like, I don't get this. Like, I'm not able to get it. Almost like, you don't feel like everybody else in the class understood that the teacher said and I didn't.
Yeah,
but here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. I said, you know what? This is what my takeaway was. That's based on her experience. She's been available to whatever it is she's available to. I don't have, it's not that important to me. In this moment, now it's become more important to me since then. But in that moment, this is what's going in my head going home, right? I'm saying, listen, what I do, my experience and the service that I do, just to give back because people stepped up and gave it to me, and to just return that to the universe, like, in this limited dimension, at the end of the day, that I can control. I know I got, that I can do. And I'm not saying this again to pat myself on the back for that. I'm just telling you because this is what I had to own about my experience. Then I had to say, this is my journey. And what I'm doing here matters. So that's it. Yeah. You do it that way. I do it this way. They're both valuable in their own way.
Exactly. So that is her doorway to, more than what is. Yours is appreciating the amazing people that you meet and telling their stories. That's your doorway. And when you're so deeply feeling what you're feeling when you're having that experience, that's you getting more information on a bigger level.
I can see that now, like a year, 2 years later, right? But in that moment, that was enough to just make me feel okay with where I am. And I feel like I'm learning more this conversation despite myself. Like all I got to do is show up.
I will also suggest that there's a knowing in you that that's your path, that that's what you're supposed to do, that that's your opening, that that's what you contribute, that that's what you're supposed to be creating in the world. There's a knowing in you that's not about belief. It's not about thought, but it's just pulling you forward into that. And it's wonderful. To watch you just get so excited about people and wanting the rest of the world to see them and wanting to put your weight and your energy and your abilities behind what they're doing and what they need. And it's a beautiful thing. That's you're being connected, to more.
But you have a way, like what I find fascinating is, first of all, you need the message. you need to have something that you're going to make available to people, whatever that is. You have like an experience that can reach so many people, but that's a requirement for anybody that's trying to be of service on some level, right? What's equally important and often missed is the delivery of the message. You know, I mean, sometimes it just takes that. I don't know. Some people just have it. It's like a gift. You can reach people. The way you deliver the message resonates. You really understand like addiction and despair and excitement from the racing. That balance is really cool. I mean, we haven't even begun yet with all the things that you're really, really good at. And somebody who I would say I'm limited when it comes to this, you know, as far as the vastness of somebody like you and other people I've met that are just like, well, you know, your availability comes as it comes. I strive for it to be where people already are.
Can I say one thing though? As you're talking, my meter's going off because I don't, just like you say, I don't see any of that delivery ability. I don't see any of that.
You're
really
not
being
going to, because it's like being a savant. It's like being like a genius or something. You don't see it. You're the only one that doesn't see it. You're just being you. You're doing what you do. It's who you are. It's a natural thing.
Right back at you. Right back at you.
Okay, I think my conditioning comes in the way I deliver that message, because it almost sounds like I'm putting myself here. It's not. I want to learn what you know. I know I'm better for it, but I can't come in here going, well, listen to me, I got this. I mean, I'm just engaging with you, but at the same time, I know that you have been after a different level of connection that I never cared about. Now it's more intriguing than ever, but I never cared. I could care less, actually. Really. And if there was not too long ago, or I would have considered it all voodoo, like just some silly fucking nonsense that you need to talk about to feel better about you. That's how dismissive I would be.
You know, I think I really prefer to look at it not as levels, because we are all the same. I look at it as doorways. I look at it as people being able to see through this doorway or see more of the picture over here. None of us sees it all. And it really takes all of us in conversation. Like, that's why I love what you're doing, to be able to see more of it. But it really is pulling together the different pieces of it, and they're just different.
I do believe in one thing: have a conversation, like just talk, just be you, and then like I can hear myself almost sounding negative right here. I'm listening to you, and you're like, I'm not even done making my point yet, and you're going, just spare us all, like stop. You know, like, you know what I mean? Because I know, and I'm guilty of that. You create that container that just lets me just spill, and then I can hear myself and go, yeah, maybe you ought to listen here and pick it up a notch. You know what I mean?
No.
Touche. What about, you know what I found maybe the most fascinating thing about you? Your connection with animals, like the horses. This is what I really want to get into with you, because that's fascinating. You want to talk about that?
So when I was 11, I was out riding with two of my friends, and the horse I was on was real skittish, and he hit some barbed wire, and he sent me flying, and I broke my back. So I thought, well, that's it. My parents were never going to let me ride again. Well, they did the most amazing thing. They ended up getting us our own horse. And so I literally got back on the horse.
That story's about you?
And so I think maybe why the motorcycle racing was so, drew me too. Getting back on that horse was like, oh my God, I spent months in a brace. I was told, if I wasn't careful, I wasn't going to be able to walk, that kind of stuff. I knew that wasn't true. I knew that I was going to be fine. But when I actually did get back on the horse, it was nerve-wracking. It was, I felt vulnerable. And so the relationship I was able to build with the horses around that, I would talk to them. Here's why I'm feeling this way. I want to do the right thing. I'm sorry if I'm being nervous. So back when I was a kid, I was sort of building that relationship. And then after I took off and I got back together with my brother, we moved to California. He had a horse that was going to have a foal, and he was gone, and I was alone, and so I ended up birthing this horse with the mama, and he ended up giving it to me. So I think that was about 8 years ago now. And so to help bring a foal into the world and raise it and have the relationship with it, over time, every so often there would be this surge in how close we would get. We would just have this deeper and deeper connection. And same with my cats. I took the cats with me when I was in the RV, and it ended up where I could let them out of the RV wherever I was, and they would come back. So it was just this partnership with animals. I don't know how else to explain it, but it's like a communication at a different level. You know, it's like really, the more I'm present to them and I see them and I just kind of send pictures in my mind to them, it's I think the closer I get with the horse and the cats. I don't know what else to say about it. It's just being in relationship in a different way with animals.
When you delivered, participated in the delivery, is the mom still, how long was the mom in the picture?
So I was in my, I thought it was going to happen all day. And then it was nighttime, and I thought, oh, she didn't have the foal. And I'd watched YouTubes all day because I was by myself and I didn't know how to do this. So I watched YouTubes on how to, horses giving birth. And so I went to sleep. An hour later, I sat bolt upright. I went to the window of the RV and I watched her water break. I could see the steam. I left the light on. So I go out there, and it was if this wall of appreciation came at me saying, thank God you're here. I've never done this before. I didn't want to be alone. You could see the relief. I could just feel the relief coming from her. And so within 20 minutes, so she started kind of doing her thing. And within 20 minutes, he was out. And within another 20 minutes, he was getting up. And she was 15. She'd never had one before. And so she didn't know how to, she didn't start the licking, and I saw that the afterbirth was over his nozzle and it was suffocating him, and I thought, what do I do? And while I'm thinking at my hands going out, I see my hand going out and pulling the afterbirth off of his nose, and then somehow just by then a friend had come by and helped get him under her to nurse. So she was, and every time he'd get close to her, and he was just this little thing, she'd squeal, and it was just a weird experience. I'd never done that before, but everybody sort of worked together. So we were there the whole time. And then I stayed another hour or a couple of hours to do what's called imprinting. My brother told me to imprint, meaning I got to put my finger in his nose and in his ear. And so he's used
to make sure everything, the passageways were clear and stuff.
Well, just to make sure he knew that it's okay for a human to touch him.
Oh.
Okay, and the only place I didn't touch him was his hooves, and to this day, he's got one hoof that he just doesn't like anybody to touch. I don't know if that would have made a difference, but I learned about imprinting. So, yeah, it was hours together, and it was late at night, and it was cold, and it was a relationship with the mama because she was so appreciative not to be alone.
So, I mean, you seem to be cool enough to recognize your intuitiveness, to gauge the sensitivity of this and be aware in that moment of, like, to acknowledge what you're experiencing in that there's this, there's the depth of what's going on. You're connecting with an animal.
All I'm doing is allowing. I had to learn how to do that. Just like I had to learn how to ask. I still have to learn how to ask. Just ask. I had to learn how to allow.
But that's why I'm talking to you. You break it down. I could get it. You have this ability to be so intuitive, and you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? I was available. You just got it's there. You can do it too. And I'm like, okay. But that makes me say, oh, okay. It's like being more awake and more aware. It's not rocket science. If we allow ourselves to, take chances and risks, and we pay attention, we learn. My experience is that angel dust and crack interfere with that learning practice. They tend to, they tend to put a little cloud over the glasses, Skew the view.
Even now, there's so much more to learn because my brother gave me book called Softness, and I'm reading this book. I've had this horse for 8 years. I'm reading this book and I'm realizing, oh, there are ways that I'm not being soft with him. I've got an agenda. I've got something I want to do. And I'm not listening to him. I'm wanting to do what I want to do. And if I do this softness, meaning I have an idea in my mind what I want to do, and I'm listening to him. And then I went out and tried it a few times with the horses, and it's like, wow, so a whole nother level. But it's being open to knowing that even though I've learned a lot, I still don't know shit. And there's so much more to learn. And just always being in that willingness. It's not easy for me. There are times when I feel like a know-it-all and I act like it. And,
of course.
You know,
like
just
right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, wait. Let me tell you how it is.
Let me tell you about your experience.
Yeah.
You really are genuine in that you have this enthusiasm to stay teachable and to be inquisitive. And that's vibrant. It's great. Tao, who's another woman I just have so much respect for, this is what she lives for. She lives for what's the day got in store for me.
Yeah.
Embrace that. And that's just like, but you live it. She lives it. I see it. It's like, again, my limit, quote unquote limits, I see this. And somehow, like, despite me, I met her and I met you and I learned. And a lot of my conditioning wouldn't even avail me to learn so much from a woman. Just because of the whole patriarchal way I came up. Like, I'd be like, can't let them know that you don't already know that. Don't even let that appear that way. Seriously, it's, so you stay in the dark and you stay ignorant. It's just ridiculous. But it unfolds the way it unfolds. And here I am now, so I love it. But there's still something beautiful about the way you embrace your journey.
Yeah, I think some people might call it. I've heard people, sometimes people will say, "Well, why are you always so positive?" Or "You're too positive," or "Oh, you're too optimistic." Or it's not that at all. It's just when we see something and we see this little piece of it, just knowing that there's so much more that's also true at the very same time, and actually more true than what we're believing. So for me, it's just always looking for, what don't I see? What's also true? What also is going on? And that's not optimism and positivity. You don't have to label it. It's just what's the bigger breadth of what's actually also happening.
That's like a perspective switch, though, right? You just kind of look at things differently, and that allows you to see more.
Yeah. It allows me not get caught up by this one little thing here.
Do you still get caught up? Do you ever snap? Do you ever get like rageful?
No. Those things that I used to do, I don't do anymore. I do other stuff. I still, you take care of one thing, and then the next thing shows up that you need to look at and work through and understand and then transform. So, but yeah, I don't very often anymore get caught up by the only things I get caught up are sometimes my own like fears. Like, oh, even when I started to do videos on Facebook, it was like, there was this frozen thing, and it's just as powerful because it keeps me stuck. I won't do it. It's not an anger thing, but it's powerful. So there's still that where I get scared about things, but the obstacle is the way. I totally believe it. If I'm procrastinating about something, I know that's exactly what I need to do to move forward. If I'm afraid of something, then that's just a presentation of exactly the thing that's gonna, help me evolve.
When I spend time with Tao, when she talks about don't ever procrastinate, she'll say this 10 times every time I'm there. And then in the class, and she repeats some of these things, right? Because it's who she is, and it's what she feels that she needs to get across, and it's that important. And she, or it could be being 101, or a combination of all of that, right? So, but I don't dismiss it. I don't even process it. It processes me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's how I know somebody's different. You know, it's my intrigue, you know, that so and I follow that. So when she says that about and you just said the same thing about procrastination, the more people I talk about, like I don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand when people you respect are hitting you with the same information, there might be something to it. Oh, you call me crazy. But it might be that the reason I'm hearing it is maybe you want to think about applying a little bit of that. You know, man, I'm just saying. You know, but I can't like that's what I'm saying about my eyes. Like I can't deny that. There's certain things that I see that I've never been available. Maybe that's why I didn't see them. But once I do see them,
Yeah.
I can't deny it anymore. And that has a lot to. I've seen things with energy. Maybe I wasn't available to ever see it before. I don't know, but I know what I just saw.
Yeah.
And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And there's something really profound about that.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not saying that what's out there, whether it is how you see it or somebody else sees it, I don't really have to know that. That's where I'm at right now. Like I really have enough work to do right here to stay focused because I just, you know, that's an issue. So for me to just be able to pay attention about contributing something, what can I do? That simple thing, because it is simple. It's not.
Yeah,
This is nobody's reinventing the wheel here.
right.
You know, and at the end of the day, whatever it is, it is. If somebody thinks it's Buddha or Jesus or whatever they believe or don't believe, it still is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, whatever it is, it really is that. So I almost like the kind of being like less inquisitive that way makes me more functional right here. But there is more intrigue as I see things. That to know that it can't be this limiting.
Right. Yeah, it can't be.
And maybe I'm wrong, but horses and dolphins are supposed to be the two most relatable with humans, like as far as passing emotions and relating. Do you agree with that?
Oh, they're a big mirror for us. They're all feeling. They're prey animals, so they are constantly scanning the environment, for they hear things and see things and smell things, and they just pick up. When you walk into the presence of a horse, they know what your mood is instantly. And they're going to tell you by either walking away, putting their ears back and walking away from you, totally ignoring you, or coming up and nuzzling you. They're going to show you what it is you're putting out to them. And so that's why they're so great as, equine therapy horses. And, my brother does a lot of that work. He does horse medicine with people, and really helping them understand that whatever is going on in their head is what they're projecting out into the world. And when that projection hits that horse, the horse is its behavior is going to just show you what it is you just projected onto them.
So it is a reflection what you're getting there, right?
Yeah. But they're so in tune to that, and they're so wanting to give you back that information. They're so wanting to interact, with you, that's the piece that makes them feel very connected and spiritual, and because they're herd animals. They're in relationship, with others. That's where their safety is. But the willingness, especially my horse, he's just so, he wants to please, and he wants to be a part of, and he wants to be involved, and he wants to be in that conversation. He wants to do the right thing. It's just amazing.
For you to be able to pick up all of that is fascinating.
It's the stuff my brother taught me, and then once I know the concepts, and then I can look for it, and okay, that's true. I see how that's working.
Do you know Tao? Like, she's very world traveled, and there's some legend of some white lion in the Himalayan mountains who, like, people go and they take these like pilgrimages to kind of view it from afar, and it's supposed to be this magnificent white lion, and nobody goes near him. Tao says she goes right up to him, and they're cool, like she tells the story, like, yeah, and you almost think like, okay,
yeah,
you say so. Her life speaks for itself. Like, I wouldn't question, but there's that something about trusting yourself and trusting in your strength Do we overthink shit? Do you think as people we just like we're in our own way? Like just because we have minds that are filled with whatever it is, like that horse is just kind of like there's that instinct that they just, of course, they're quicker than us because they're not disturbed by all this shit in our heads.
Mm.
You know. So, but when you're when we're really free, we're instinctive, like uninhibited. And this is, I think, a lot of what consciousness is helping people with is to kind of just break the disturbance, kind of ease, calm, and just so we can focus on whatever it is we want to. It's almost like on a planet of ADHD, let's just focus on something and just slow it down a little bit and let the noise go away. The term, I just wanted to get your opinion on it. Goddess warrior. What does that mean to you?
Well, we both have female energy. That exists in both of us.
No male that I've ever met outside of certain like restricted zones in each city would refer to themselves as a goddess warrior.
No, they wouldn't refer themselves to that, but the capability and the energy and the ability to have that experience is absolutely in everybody. I don't think I'd use the word goddess. It's just a word. It's just a descriptor to explain the experience that a woman is having. It's just for me, it's really simple. It's just people's journey. It's just their doorway. It's how they're going to get to where they need to get to. And if they resonate with someone who's teaching about goddess warrior, then that's awesome. That's what they need to do. If they resonate with racing a motorcycle to figure out your goddess warrior, then that's what they need to do. So it's just that simple. It's just a different journey, and whatever conceptualizing we need to do and labels we need to do. I think it's I don't know what else to say about it but that.
Well, Ginny, this might sound like I'm coming from left field, but I asked you that question specifically because you talked earlier about just wanting to be softer. So there's that part of you as a woman that just recognizes that and understands what you want and hold on, just let me just you acknowledge how you want to adjust that energy within you. That's what I'm saying. But then you along with that, you have this motocross, horse jumping, there's another side of you that's really drawn, I'm assuming, to this excitement part of thing. It's kind of like you're a strong-willed woman, and then there's also that, like when you say, you want to recognize the softness. So that's why I'm asking you that question, because it's about the dichotomy and how you try to determine what you think is a balance for you.
So this is the interesting thing about words. Is we think we know what the other person means by words. So when I say softness, I'm actually reading a book by a man about softness, and he's a taekwondo master, and he's talking about softness in your energy and your thought and your fascia, just the part of your body, right? And so it's just a facet that it's not a sides either. It's like just how the energy expresses in us.
It's not like a female thing. I'm talking to you. You're a woman, so that's the only about the softness is not male female. I'm just saying for you to want to honor that part of you and own that part of you the way you determine whatever balance you want in that moment or whatever you want to do with it, right? Having that and also having this strength, almost like it's mandatory for you to understand that both far ends of the tangent. Like, to me, I just see you as one of those people that's really important to understand your truth. Mm-hmm. And the more enthusiasm you show about learning more, you continue to discover that the boundaries can go a little bit. You learn a little bit more and a little bit more, and you become more complete.
So that's the thing that I'm really fascinated with. I'm fascinated with the idea when I realized that, okay, we all have potential, right? Mm-hmm. Then I realized that every time we move into our greater potential, we move into it, it moves out, it expands, and there's more potential. So I'm like so delighted in my life right now to see in the time I have left, because there's a time limit, it's going to end.
According to Tao, it's not.
Well, that's cool too, because there's lots to do. So there's just so much. I want to see how far I can get with my capability as a human being. I want to see, because this gadget that we're in is amazing. It's the most high tech, the most amazing thing that we could even conceive of. And I want to move out into realms of the capability of the human being that I want to experience firsthand before I can't do that anymore. And but that idea, the more I push out my potential, the more it expands, the more I see that it's even farther, and the more excited I get. It's sort of that law of inertia in the positive way. The more movement that happens, and the more movement in that direction I want to do, and it just draws me. So it's and sometimes it's hard to know what direction to go, because it feels like it just kind of all expands out, but it's just in the experience, and just in the saying yes, and just in the seeing it clearly and being in the moment of it, so you just experience it even deeper and learn even more by it in that moment.
Your enthusiasm is contagious, and it's childlike. When you're talking about things, you make me feel like all I have to do is strive for it. So, you just got to be, but you made that like plausible because of your enthusiasm, because you're down to earth, and because I trust what you're saying. It's who you are. It's who you are. That's why I trust it, because it's not contrived.
So I think that's what's so powerful about the present moment, and really experiencing, like if you're in gratitude, or if you're in enjoyment, or you're feeling love, you're in that moment, really focusing on the moment, the power of it just grows, and it just like takes you and creates something even more intense, and then more possibilities created with it, more intensity.
Yeah. To just be able to share this conversation with people, it's an honor. It really is. I really respect who you are and what you do and how you do it as well.
You know what I love about you is you just bring everything back down to it's humorous, it's simple, it's back down to us being human beings. We're hilarious, we're funny how we are, and I love how you just bring it back down to just the human being, and how we see things, and how what the experience is, and how it's really very simple. So that's why I really wanted to have a conversation with you. I really appreciate that about you.
Oh, thank you. I mean, a compliment from you is high praise. Seriously, the people that I really learned from, that I trusted, and humility was always a thing. It was like, it's like, and if I was to say there's 3 traits that we all should have, would be humility, gratitude, and compassion. I mean, everything else you can, if it comes, if you have those 3, you're good, man. If you have nothing else, you have that, you're going to be all right.
Those feel good. Those are great. Those are just, I can imagine the resonance on a cellular or an atomic level in the body of those amazing feelings. So just doing more of that is good for us, as well as, extending that out to other people.
But also, too, in my mind, as much as I know how valuable they are, if I'm not like in some kind of setting where I'm reminded of that, I will definitely and always will lose sight of that. You live your life, and you just, if you allow shit to happen, it's going to happen.
Well, then, along with Tao's thing about procrastination is the other big one is distraction. So
Huge.
what am I being distracted by? Is it some outside thing trying to get my attention, or is it a thought in mind that I've given all my attention to? So yeah, if I create my not to do list, or I create the things that I'm not going to give energy to, then I've got lots more ability to choose where I put my attention and not fall prey to distraction.
Like courage. It would be, if it wasn't for fear, there would be no use or need for courage. Like that's
Right.
just, facing your fear, right? So you first have to recognize that you're afraid,
Yeah.
and then muster up the courage. And I think we do that when we muster up the courage, but we don't necessarily know that's what we're doing.
Right.
Same thing with procrastination. If the only reason I can identify it as that is because I know I'm supposed to be doing something else. Like I know, like I should be over here, or whatever it is doing, and I'm deliberately not doing it, that I accept as the definition of procrastination. So against our own dreams or ambitions, we decide to stay stuck. Or sometimes, like I joke always that, it's good. Stupidity's a good thing because it allows us to outsmart ourselves. It's easy to outsmart yourself when you're just not,
Yeah.
on par. So, but sometimes it's a simple strategy. You watch people, watch autistic people live. They just love. They don't know how to not love. Like Down syndrome, people with what we think are limitations, spend some time, really, pay attention. And you know how this was shown to me? By a fellow addict who works with them, and he goes like, wow, you got to check this out. And I went and checked it out, and I learned. I mean, so there we are. We think we're so, we're helping them. Let me pity this soul and let me give all I have to them. And it's so shallow. It's pathetic. And if you just shut the fuck up and get out of your own way, you allow yourself to learn from them. Mm-hmm. And again, this guy had to show me that. And I thought I was going there with some,
Yeah, we're fine.
Life happens, man. If and so that when you say simplicity, that's what I've learned. We're not that important necessarily. Learn. Yeah. Stay teachable.
Yeah. And contribute what you learn.
You share it. But then it becomes your truth when you learn it. So it's stigma that's attached to so many terms and so many words. So we can have a word, and you can have your definition of it, and I can have mine. And even if the definitions are the same, it could still take on a different context based on your experience and mine. How do you feel about that? You're a stigma breaker, aren't you?
I think it's amazing we can communicate verbally at all. If you take any 10 people, you use the words, and 10 people heard it differently because they attach their whole lifetime experience to that word. It's phenomenal. And in truth, I think it's only 5% of our communication with another human being is verbal. The rest of it, we're feeling the energy, we're getting cues from the body language, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's stunning that we can even communicate. So the way that I work and what I when I still kind of supervise up and coming therapists is and even people who are managing others. If you communicate something, it's not their job to get what you're communicating. It's your job to check in and see if you communicated well.
About how the message is received.
Yeah. Yeah. What is your impact? Did I said this? Check in. What's the impact that I had? And if the impact isn't what I expected, I've got to try again. I've got to say it again. I've got to use story or metaphor or whatever, use different words, whatever, to get the communication across, because it's my job to get it across.
Yeah.
I want it. It's not their job to receive it. So that's what I think about language.
Yeah, no, that's great. And you take responsibility for that too. I mean, and that's a big thing. So you don't just say what you say and just think that it's supposed to get there. Like you see it through.
We assume that words mean the same to everybody. Big assumption on all of our parts.
Right now, what do you think your greatest asset or the gift that you have that you really want to be able to put out there and have people understand?
The first thing that comes to mind is just what you've been saying all day. I got a long way to go.
Cornelius!
There's so much to experience and to see and understand. And, I think I understand something, and it's just another opportunity to understand more. So I think it's just that we don't know. And we just got to check it out and keep looking and keep I think the truth of, I think this is it maybe. There's 4 truths. There's I've got to tell the truth about myself to myself. I can't even remember what it is now, but it's just, I got to check in, really, is that true? And that's a lot of the work that Byron Katie does. So if I'm having a belief, or I have a perception, I see something, I hear something, I feel something, I've just got to see, is that true? And if I'm feeling stuck, or I'm feeling like I can't do something, or I have a judgment about somebody else. Is it true? Just check it out, because inside I know, outside of the filters and my conditioning and my beliefs, you know when something is true. So for me, I think it's just but especially being honest with myself, especially the self-talk, telling the truth to myself about myself. And because without being grounded there, anything I do is not based on truth. It's based on, falsehood or seeing things in a distorted way. And so it can't go anywhere good.
What do you think the greatest gift is that you got from the universe in your journey?
It's that everything is for me. I'm here to experience. I'm here to learn, and I'm here then to share and give. And so everything that happens is for me. It doesn't happen to me. It's for me. So whenever something happens, like you and I were talking about your truck earlier before we went on video. If something happens to me that initially it's like, I didn't want that to happen. It shouldn't have happened. Wait a minute. I'm sure that in some way that's the best thing that happened for me, whether it's a hard lesson I have to learn, whether it's a bullet I'm dodging, whether it's a wonderful experience I'm now going to be available for. Everything, that's the thing for me. If I just wander through my days and through my life knowing that whatever happens is for me, it's a gift for me, then I can receive it. And I'm not going to feel like a victim because something happened to me. The victimhood is so hard to get out of, and it's so oppressive and damaging.
It's a tough hole to climb out of.
Yeah.
I'm just really grateful for people. Like, there's so many people that when you're talking to them, you're getting the agenda, you're getting, whatever you're getting. To be able to put something out there to somebody and get back a response or feedback that's for my well-being, that I trust that, you know what, all bullshit aside. I mean, that so many times when I was really, in need of some direction, it appeared.
Yeah.
And I think of just a little slight clarity that I have at times, and it's a result of that, because that trust is just like, that is so trampled on when you're out there running around like an idiot, and it's just so shredded.
Yeah.
To be able to have that, because it's so important.
And you can talk to any 100 people that have had that experience, and they could each have their own explanation for it, and it'll all be true. It's just the one that really resonates for you to help you really get the message. That's the important one. But everybody, we don't know how it works. But yeah.
But what it does is it instills that faith back.
Yeah.
That it's not all ugly. It's important when you don't have hope.
It is ugly.
Yeah. But in a hopeless state, hope means everything. And a little glimpse of it is what you need sometimes to just keep looking.
Yeah.
Ginny, I mean, you are amazing.
You're amazing. Thank you so much for doing this. It's fun.
This is an honor.
Yeah.
Where, if somebody that's listening to this and watching this would like to reach out and work with you or connect with you somehow, how would they do that?
So I'm on Facebook, Ginny Cutler, and then also GinnyCutler.com is my website. Also, I have articles on Medium.com.
If you'd like to get some more insight, good perspective from somebody that's I truly respect.
Thank you.
Yeah, reach out. And Ginny, thank you for being cool. This is a treat. I learned a lot today.
Me too. Thank you. It was fun.
You're kind.
Yeah. Let's again.
Well, thanks, and we'll do this again soon. All right.
Okay.